Are you a current or future physician assistant wanting to learn more about finances? Then join me on this journey to become a PA the FI way. Hi, my name is Kat, and I'm a practicing certified physician assistant who will be your host. It took me 5 years after I started practicing medicine as a PA to thoroughly dive into my personal finances after I discovered the concept of financial independence. I want to use what I have learned to help you avoid some of the financial mistakes that I have made while sharing some of the financial wins that I have had along the way. Join me as we discuss financial strategies to guide you to becoming a physician assistant on the way to financial independence. I am so excited to dive into today's episode. But before we do so, a quick word from our sponsor. Deciding how and when to pay off student loans is not an easy decision for most. Many of you are feeling weighed down by your mortgage-sized student loans and are asking yourself, how did I get into this mess? Student loans contribute to stress and burnout for PAs, as well as other high-earning professionals. Many PAs, even with the best of intentions, unfortunately make poor financial decisions on their student loans. Look no further than studentloanadvice.com. For a few $100s, they will meet with you for about an hour. They'll go over your personal student loan situation and help you come up with a plan for optimizing your student loan management. Find out how much they can save you today at studentloanadvice.com/PAFI. And if you are interested in learning more, check out the PA the FI Way podcast, episode 42, where Andrew, one of the co-founders, joined me as a guest. Otherwise, head over to studentloanadvice.com/PAFI. Now back to the show. Welcome back, everyone, to the PA the FI Way podcast. I'm your host, Kat, and we have two very special guests joining us today. And I'm really excited that they took the time to join us. But more importantly, I'm excited that you listeners took the time today to take a listen and learn a little bit more about financial independence. So on the show today, we have two PAs that are actually married. So we have Logan and Makenzie Driscoll. So welcome to the show, guys. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us, Kat.
Yeah. Do you mind introducing yourselves for the listeners?
Of course. So my name is Makenzie Driscoll, and then my husband, Logan Driscoll. And we're from DMU, the PA program at DMU, and that's where we met as well. So we're both in our first year as practicing PAs.
Just coming up on a year, yep.
Very cool. So how was it meeting in PA school? I don't hear a lot of PAs that actually meet in PA school and then end up dating and getting married.
Yeah, it's a tough time. Wouldn't you say, Kat, that it's a pretty busy time, that there's not a lot of time for a relationship, maybe?
Yes, totally.
And the reason that I preface that is we started dating the first semester of PA school. So typically the didactic portion, which is the hardest portion, in my opinion. The rotations, you can kind of all put it together. So we did start dating, and we broke up because didactics are so hard.
Sure.
And, we stayed friends. Of course, we were in the same study group and all that good stuff. And then we ended up dating later down the road in our second year. And that's when it stuck. And then we got engaged maybe like 6 months after.
Yeah.
And then that was that. So, yeah.
Nice. That's awesome.
So it's kind of funny. Yep. So it is hard, I will say, to do a new relationship in PA school, but totally worth it. It's a good group of people there. So
sure, that's great. Yeah, you guys went to Des Moines University, which is where I went to as well. So I really like that connection too. You guys are a few years behind me though, certainly, but it's really fun that we share that commonality. Also, my husband and I broke up for a brief period of time as well, maybe like 2 to 3 weeks. The time frame's a little fuzzy, but it ended up working out and we're married. So yeah, I can imagine that it's common for some relationships to take a pause and then people get back together, and it can work out for a lot of people. So that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Glad it worked out for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
likewise. Do you mind sharing what specialties you guys practice in and what you enjoy most about your specialties?
Yeah, so I work in plastic surgery at Broadlands, and it's actually a county hospital. So plastic surgery looks a little bit different there, but I think that's why I like it so much. I just never realized how much a plastic surgeon can do. They have such a wide variety of surgeries that they do. So as a first year, it was kind of overwhelming, but I really enjoyed getting to learn. We do skin cancers all over the body. We do things on the face, fractures in the face. Then we also, we just work down the whole body. Like you name it, and we're doing it. So I just really enjoy the variety of things and constantly learning new things as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I work in orthopedic surgery. And I like the balance between clinic days and OR days. They're definitely different in terms of mental exhaustion versus physical exhaustion. And yeah, orthopedics is a really nice surgical specialty. Usually people make it out okay, and they're pretty satisfied with that. So it's nice to see that immediate change in people when you do a hip replacement or a knee replacement on them. The effects are pretty immediate, so I like it a lot.
That's great. I can imagine that each of you can see that there's kind of instant gratification for both the patients as well as yourselves. You can see where, hey, you can see like this person gets this fixed. You can fix them for their pain or how their appearance is, or like you said, if they had an injury or things like that. So I could see where surgical specialties can be gratifying for both the providers as well as the patients.
Yeah, they really are. It's really neat to see it.
So you guys are both about a year out of school. How has it been going with your finances? We're on a financial independence podcast for PAs. So what are some specific financial struggles that you guys are experiencing as newer grads?
Yeah, of course. And the number one thing that I would say is probably just the lifestyle creep. Having not one but two PA salaries kind of come into the fold after 2 years of not making any money or very little money. It's really easy to do when you see that kind of come in. So I think that would be a big thing for us. Now we've done pretty good. I think we did buy a house, and we do have 2 new cars, and all of that is kind of a no in terms of the financial side of things, but they're all reasonably priced. So I think that's a positive, that win.
I would say, yeah, because despite buying new things, we made sure to still stay on the cheaper end of things.
Yeah.
So we felt like, okay, we're rewarding ourselves. We have something nice, but we're not close to what we'd want to be spending in the future, what people say we could be spending. So that's helpful too, to sometimes treat yourself, but then try to realize, okay, we don't need the biggest and the best yet. We just need something that's nice, that's going to work for us.
Yeah, that's great. I think that it's important to recognize that pursuing financial independence is not one size fits all. If you guys feel like you need a home and need newer cars, maybe your cars were older and needed an upgrade, like you said, just be mindful about what you're spending, the budget you have, and then being in Iowa where you guys are located, the cost of things is very likely more affordable being in the Midwest versus, on the coast, so to speak.
And that was actually a big part of, because I'm from Colorado originally.
Sure.
And so after school, we were trying to figure out if we should move back to Colorado or if we should stay in Iowa. And a big part of staying in Iowa was that we knew we could keep our costs down. So
Yes.
we're like, if we get jobs here, we can buy something nice for cheaper, and we'll be on our way to financial independence sooner. So that's kind of the plan.
Yeah, that's great. Now, you guys, again, are 2 married PAs. What do you think are unique financial decisions or things that you guys are experiencing, kind of trying to work through together, being 2 PAs on the way to financial independence?
Yeah, of course. With PA school, you do have a pretty good salary by most standards, and you also have pretty good student loans as well. So it's definitely a double-edged sword on that regard, having two good salaries and also 2 relatively high student loans as well. So
Sure.
kind of planning out how to manage that has been an interesting kind of journey. And especially with the COVID pandemic and having federal student loans continue at 0%. And it's been that way since we graduated. So
Nice.
it's been kind of an interesting, when these start back up, does our plan change? What do we do while it's at 0%? Is there some advantage or disadvantage that we can take advantage of, or some scenario that we can manage? So it's definitely been an interesting time to be a new grad PA with student loans, and especially being married to a PA has added a new layer to that.
Yeah, certainly. And speaking of student loans, if you guys feel comfortable, do you mind sharing the total amount of student loans that you have had, as well as do you guys have particular strategies that you guys are planning on using to tackle those student loans and get them paid off?
Absolutely, no problem, Kat. Right now, and I ran these numbers in preparation for today, we have about $230,000 of student loans.
Wow.
Yeah. And they'll be at a 5.3% interest when the loans restart, when and if they restart. So that's kind of what we're looking at. And we have looked at several options. As Kenzie mentioned, she works at a 501c3, and her employer certainly qualifies for PSLF. So we've looked extensively into that program.
Great.
As well as just paying them off, with standard repayment, or, doing it the FI way, paying them off as soon as possible. With my loans, I work at a private company, so PSLF is typically not an option there.
Sure.
But we've looked at, do we make extra payments there? Do we keep it with the federal loans, and how long? That's certainly been an interesting conversation with all the extensions and not knowing, when that will come about, versus obviously private refinancing to a lower interest rate and just kind of hammering down right away. So those are kind of our two contrasting student loan scenarios there.
Great. Yeah, both of those options are very reasonable. And again, it totally depends upon what type of situation you find yourself in as a practicing PA, what type of employer you work for, those types of things too. And then for PSLF, if you, Makenzie, can see yourself working there for, a decade, or if you maybe not necessarily there, but potentially another type of location as well. So that is certainly something to consider. PSLF is wonderful. It's great. You get, a large amount of student loans forgiven, but sometimes it can be a little bit of a golden handcuffs situation where you might feel stuck sometimes. So if you love your employer, then I think that that's a wonderful option to pursue that. And at least, start with that option. That's really great that you have that option for you. And then for you, Logan, I think that certainly something to consider to refinance in the future, but keep those 0% federal loans right now as long as you guys can, because that's so great that you guys have that option right now.
No doubt. Yeah, it's been, I haven't even calculated how much we've saved in interest, because I just it'd probably blow my mind how much. But yeah, we're keeping going with the 0% for right now, for sure. So.
And the way we've attacked our loans too, we haven't really said my loans versus Logan's loans. We kind of took every single individual loan that we had and the percentage of interest that we had on that loan, and then Logan listed them from top to bottom, what one's costing us the most money. So it may be a smaller loan, but depending on what the percentage was, so they are just all listed out, and that's how we were kind of attacking them, was whatever one's costing us the most money, we were trying to get rid of first. So
sort of the avalanche method, if you will. Yep. Good old avalanche. So
yeah. Yeah, that can often be more cost effective and save you over the long term than the snowball method. So that's great that you guys are doing that too.
Yep.
Do you guys feel like you're trying to do different things like make over payments on your loans, or not quite yet? Or have you guys considered, some people will do side gigs or pick up extra shifts here and there to try to pay off their loans sooner?
So originally I did start picking up some urgent care shifts.
Sure.
And that was really helpful because you can make really good money in urgent care. But I think it was hard this early on because as a new PA, especially working for a surgeon who does so many different things,
Sure.
that I wanted to get good at the job that I was at first. And it
Yes.
very quickly became overwhelming where all of my free time was another job. And at the end of the day, it was very stressful. So as much as I liked it and as helpful as it was financially, I just don't think I was ready for it yet. So I've kind of backed off of that a little bit. But Logan wants to do urgent care, so
Sure.
And I'm going to start picking up the slack. Yeah.
Sure.
So, yes, overpayments, absolutely. I'm definitely what people would call probably debt averse.
Sure.
So I'm not really interested in keeping our student loans around for any longer than they have to be.
Yeah.
And that's just, a personality thing of mine. So yeah, I've definitely considered some side gigs and, doing the medical surveys, which are offered a lot to PAs. I get those several times a week at least.
Cool.
To fill out those. And sometimes you get screened out of those, which is kind of understandable. But yeah, picking up a second job is certainly something that I've thought about doing and considered because of the nature of surgery. When you're done with the surgeries for the day, you're kind of done. So that lends itself a little bit more time. Now you want to make sure you're available, of course, in case you do have a complication or something goes on wrong or anything like that. But yeah, I'm certainly more interested in doing that side gig sort of thing. So yeah, absolutely.
Great. Yeah, I think that it's important for the new grads out there to consider their options and, like you did, Makenzie, consider trying it and see how things go, because it can be helpful for a lot of people to do that. But I would say more often than not, it is really important to find a good, supportive first job, no matter the specialty. Having a good supervising physician that you feel like is willing to train you, teach you, and, like you emphasized, really solidify your knowledge in that area in your main role first. And you also don't want to burn yourself out. It's so easy to get overwhelmed as a new grad when you're learning all this information. So it's, reasonable to try, but for a lot of people, if they feel like that it's just causing more stress than, alleviating financial stress, then it's probably a good idea to just drop it, or, like you said, cut back a little bit, or things like that too. So I even just recently stopped a very casual urgent care role that I had. I'm like, I'm good right now, trying to de-stress my life a little bit more, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because I felt like I did have a little more free time. And just as my job was picking up, we also got a dog. And so that, for some reason, just added a lot more stress. So maybe just skip getting the dog and then you can work an extra job.
There you go.
Yep.
I was going to ask you, Logan, too, which medical survey company do you use, or have you used a few of them?
Yeah, I've used a few. Reckner Healthcare. That one doesn't send, at least me in orthopedic surgery, as often. I've also used M3 Global, which that one sends more frequently, and InCrowd. Those are the three that I've signed up for and used. InCrowd is a really quick one. So
Sure.
those surveys are, I think they call them micro surveys. They can be done within 5 or 10 minutes, whereas the others are maybe a phone call, or an hour kind of on the computer filling out a survey. So
Okay.
it's a nice spread. And when I am feeling ambitious, I can do a 60-minute one. And when I have one that's a quick one, I can do that too. So
Sure. Very cool. I've had a couple other guests that have mentioned some survey companies, and the M3 Global one sounds familiar, but the other two don't. So if you guys are interested in checking out those medical surveys, I will list them in the show notes for you if you would like to see if they may be something that you qualify. I believe certain specialties qualify a lot more often than others, but it's something to consider and look at. So you two being married, how do you communicate about finance as a couple? Do you feel like you have certain tips or tricks that work well for you in particular that you could suggest to other couples out there? I'm sure it really depends on the different personalities out there, but what would you guys suggest?
It does for sure. I would say that I'm more kind of financially interested, if you want to say that. We both contribute to our finances. And I feel that's pretty common probably, is that one partner maybe manages it a little bit more. If there's two that are interested and like to manage that stuff, that's great. But a lot of what it comes down to is just a quick conversation, kind of on a month-to-month basis. I do all the tracking and budgeting and just kind of keeping her in the loop. I think she likes it that way. And we have pretty honest conversations about our spending, and we look at what all of our categories are and where we're spending a lot. So we utilize the kind of the top 5 category method, where you keep track of the top 5 biggest categories of your spending.
Sure.
And that gets you most of the way there without going, line item budget.
Nice.
That gets you a lot of the way there. So kind of keeping track of that and basically just keeping track with each other.
Yeah. We have a lot of conversations, and we've kind of put it in writing before just so we can see if we're on the same page as far as, what's the highest amount of money we're comfortable without telling the other person, that we're comfortable spending without telling the other person. And so we just make sure that we're always on the same page about little things like that, so that no one's ever caught off guard or ever upset by something with our finances. And just trying to be respectful to each other, because sometimes money is spent and it happens kind of back and forth, where maybe one spends a little more one month. And so just trying to be respectful and always having conversations to make sure we're keeping each other in check.
That's great. So for you, Makenzie, being the not as financially interested as Logan person in the relationship, how do you feel like is a good idea for a spouse or a partner to approach that type of person in the relationship about finances? Do you feel like that there's certain things or, ways of approaching that can be more helpful than others that you would suggest?
Yeah, I think it's really helpful when Logan tells me where he'd like to spend our money. So, for instance, instead of just coming to me and saying, "Hey, I need you to cut back here. You're spending too much here. Don't do that." That would be more hurtful. But he'll come to me and I'll say, "Well, where would you like the money to go? What were you thinking?" And so he'll say, "Well, I really had this account in mind. I'd really like to build some interest here and do other things." And so then I say, "Okay, well, where do you need me to cut out money, or where have I been spending more, or where do you think I can cut back?" So I really like that method when he brings it up to me in that way. And that's never hurtful. So
That's good.
yeah.
Great. All right. So how did you guys learn about financial independence, and which parts of financial independence seem most appealing to you that kind of drew you to the concept?
Of course, yeah. I'll take this one too, Kat. I learned about FI when I was looking for ways to kind of increase my financial knowledge. And that was during my commute to work, which I make a 50-minute commute.
Oh, wow.
A couple times a week. So I have plenty of time to listen to great podcasts like yours.
Thank you.
Like the White Coat Investor.
Yes.
Shameless plug there too.
Awesome.
And it just fascinated me that there was this whole world that was so applicable to me that I knew nothing about. You've heard it 1,000 times that in high school and undergrad biology classes and PA school, it's just not talked about. Everyone's trying to get you there. And so kind of that, PA Next Steps example, that book by Jordan, that is a great, kind of gap that needs to be filled. So I just kind of dove into this world of finances and, listened to, Physician on Fire and different, popular parties like that. And the idea just struck me that I think I would practice better medicine if I didn't have to worry about, paying the mortgage or paying off my student loans. I feel like I could practice more freely
Yeah, totally.
and, happier. So
Mhm.
that's what we're striving towards
Mhm.
for sure.
Cool.
And as he said before, too, he's more interested in the financial side of things. And so a lot of my learning comes from him because he listens to these podcasts and then he comes home and, like, okay, what's interesting? What do you think that I'd like to hear about? And he shares with me a little bit. But I just have a lot of trust in him because I know how many different podcasts that he listens to, in the sense that I feel like it'd be hard for me to catch up and know what he knows. So it's nice kind of just having him teach me what he knows and be in charge of a lot of the finances.
Yeah, that's great. I think that you guys touched on a couple of things there. One is that it can be nice in a relationship if someone kind of takes the lead, if both people don't necessarily have interest. I really encourage at least one person to step up. And I encourage that the listeners for this podcast, I would imagine that there's still quite a few more female PAs out there than male PAs. So I think that still nowadays, a lot of females kind of defer the finances to the male partners. But I really
Mm-hmm.
encourage that if the male isn't super interested in it, to take charge for the females out there, but also to always be in touch with what's going on. So you made a point there that you don't necessarily want to or feel like you need to learn every single thing out there. It could be overwhelming. It may not be your entire interest, but it's important that you have that open communication with Logan and keep that going throughout your guys' careers and lives together, because if one person isn't involved or kind of out of touch, then it can lead to poor outcomes in the future. So I think that that's great that you guys have that open communication.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then also, Logan, I really liked how you touched on how pursuing financial independence and eventually, reaching financial independence in the future really optimizes how you practice medicine. It really can be more freeing, where you can make better decisions if you don't have all these financial stressors for many, many years starting as a new grad. Then you are setting yourself up for empowered decisions where you can decide, hey, I don't need to work this particular job, or I don't need to work this many hours. You have that sense of power and negotiating power throughout your career too. So I really like that as well.
No doubt. No doubt. That's great.
So if there are some new grad PAs out there that were in your spot about a year ago, do you guys have any particular advice that you'd like to leave for them?
Yeah, I would say if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably one step ahead of a lot of your classmates already. Being a new grad PA, just like Kenzie said, is overwhelming in itself. It's just this fire hose of information for 2 to 3 years, and then you get out into practice, and it's more fire hose, honestly. And I would just recommend not letting your finances go on the back burner too long. And if they're listening to this podcast, obviously they've taken that step as well. So you're one step ahead. And the only other thing I would say is that, financial independence, or specifically early financial independence, takes a concerted effort. So, but it's worth that effort. You've never talked to someone on the opposite side of financial independence that regretted their choices. So I think it's worth it to spend the time to take charge of your good salary and to know your worth in that, and to protect it and keep it, because you did work really, really hard to get to where you're at. And or you'll be working hard if you're a PA student or a pre-PA student, and it's worth the effort to manage it correctly. So that's all I would say.
Yeah. I would say something that was really helpful for me is I had always made budgets growing up for myself, but I didn't make them as detailed as Logan originally had when we first started doing all of our finances together. And I think that's really helpful too, especially as a couple, because then you make sure that you're on the same page and you have an understanding of what you want to pay towards your student loans. And I think it just seeing it all out on paper and having that discussion makes it easier along the way. So yeah.
Very cool. And you guys had mentioned as well how you have this large student loan debt between the two of you, but you guys are both in surgery, so probably a decent salary as well. If you guys feel comfortable sharing, do you guys mind sharing your guys' pay range and the compensation model? How are you guys getting paid as well?
Yeah, no problem at all. We decided to combine our salaries just to protect both of our salary numbers and
Sure.
all that kind of stuff. We get paid on the same model, so we have salaries, base salaries, and we have RVU bonuses.
Okay.
Mine is a quarterly bonus that's based on the net production that I make. So our combined salaries, before I forget to drop that number on everybody, is $193,000.
Nice.
So yeah, so it's a pretty good in terms of student loans to income ratio.
Definitely.
But yeah, and then so because we're so new, the RVU bonuses haven't kicked in yet. So I'm not sure what that will actually end up looking like in terms of the number.
Yeah.
But we're getting close, coming up on a year. So that's kind of an exciting thing as well.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know, will those salaries be guaranteed then too once the RVU kicks in?
I believe so. I think it's RVU on top of that salary.
Yeah.
At least on my contract, it looked like it was in addition to.
Sure.
That's yours.
Yep, and mine as well. Yep, that
That's
salary
awesome.
is guaranteed for me. So yeah, it's great. So just basically an incentive to do more cases and see more people, I guess, whether that's a good or a bad thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Is put up there. So yeah.
Yeah, that type of pay structure can be really nice because you feel like you have the peace of mind when it comes to the guarantee salary, but then you get that little perk, that little extra with the RVUs that can be a little bit more motivating too. So for all the PA students listening out there, if you're overwhelmed with the amount of student loans you're accumulating, at least you'll have a pretty decent salary and you'll have a plan in action that you can take where you can pay off that debt. So it all comes with time.
Yeah, and you will. I mean, it sounds like impossible. When you look at $230,000, it sounds like a lot. But when you break it down month by month, year by year, that certainly helps to kind of, take on the tidal wave of student loans. Just break it down, make it into a little smaller number, and you'll be just fine. So.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you both for sharing all these wonderful words of wisdom, as well as being very open and transparent with your guys' journey. I think that it's pretty unique to find a PA couple out there, so it's really fun to chat with both of you, and I really appreciate it. If the listeners have any questions or would like to reach out to you guys, do you guys have a way that you would like them to contact you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, if email works the best for people, the email that you can reach me at is driscoll.logan@gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll include that in the show notes as well.
And I do want to tell your listeners too that, we have students rotate with my surgeon all the time, and I really love that. So I hope this is kind of an open invite to please email me. I am an open book, and I definitely love to be a resource to students. I look forward to precepting and teaching in the future. So this is your it's okay to email me announcement there. So there's that.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I think that precepting can be a little intimidating as a newer grad, but it really teaches you so much. I was kind of pushed into precepting right away as a new grad, and I'm glad that I was because the students are just amazing and make every day so much better.
And you can email me as well. Just if you have any interest in plastics too, or any questions about plastics, because I feel like that is a topic we do not learn about in PA school. And so I'm interested in teaching students as well and precepting just to help PAs understand more of what we do. So if you'd like to email me about that, you definitely can. And my email is MakenziEurban, URBAN, @gmail.com. But as far as the financial questions, I would definitely defer to Logan.
That's valid.
I am not an expert in that area at all.
We're on our way. We're on our way.
Cool.
So.
All right. Well, thank you both so much for joining us today. I think that the listeners will get a lot of value out of today's episode, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time.
Thanks, Kat. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in, and I hope that you decide to continue to join me along this journey of becoming a PA the FI way. Please take a moment to press the subscribe button on the platform that you are listening to this on, but more importantly, consider sharing with another current or future PA that could benefit from the information that we reviewed in this episode. Take care and have a great rest of your day. Until next time.